It's very important that we try to find American workers that are eligible for the roles that we have. As an employer at Loigica, we strive to do that. But many times we need foreign workers to help us fill the roles for professional type of positions. So for example, here at Loigica, we actually have U.S. licensed attorneys from other countries because they were excellent workers and we couldn't fill the roles with the current American workforce. So it's a great way to make sure that your jobs get filled. Even if you can't find an American worker, you can always find a foreign person who can fill that role. As a U.S. employer, there are some challenges in trying to hire the foreign worker that you want. Many times employers, we will find them from the local university and we find a great talented person. The challenges we must overcome is getting them through the H-1B lottery system. There's only 85,000 visas available per year, but there's 400 or 500, sometimes 700,000 applicants throughout the country. So we have to try to get them through that lottery process first. Then we put them through the permanent labor certification process, which is what will help them stay for the long term at your company with permanent residency, the green card. These are processes that can take several years. So what is challenging for the employer is making sure that once they find that foreign talent that is in the United States, making sure you can keep him or her, and making sure that that person is satisfied with their job so that they can make your company excellent and move forward. As a U.S. employer, it's very important that you find an immigration attorney who will help your professional foreign talent stay with your company. There's several steps and you need a strategy. You need to implement an H-1B strategy, a permanent labor certification strategy, or sometimes we can look at L1s or O1 visas. All these types of visas are different ways to try to get to the same goal, which is to retain your best talent. To do so, you will need someone who will know the strategy of the immigration system. So there's 85,000 visas available per year and people apply every March. Sometimes your candidates don't get selected. So an alternative strategy is to actually hire people who have already received their H-1B in the past. Many candidates, H-1B candidates, will be seeking better jobs or better opportunities. So what you want to do is to seek those who already have H-1Bs, make them a strong job offer and bring them on board. The ideal situation would be where you're bringing a person in from a similar company or maybe even a competitor. And if they're still working for that company and you follow the H-1B, they can then leave that company and begin working for you immediately. That's the ideal situation. Sometimes people find themselves in layoffs, as we found a couple of years ago when in big tech, there was some layoffs that happened. Those folks, there's still an opportunity to hire them. When that happens, you have about 60 days from the day that they're laid off to file their H-1B and they can remain in the country and start working for your company at the moment that the case is actually approved. So there's a few strategies that we can implement. It's all about timing and it's all about starting early with your H-1B attorney.
Well, they were actively involved with me. I actually had the pleasure to work with a different department because I am usually working with the EB-2 NIW process. So this is my first time working with the labor department. And my paralegal that worked for the case, she was very on top of things. Even though I'm an attorney, I still, of course, as my own personal experience, get to have some doubts about the process. And, it's good to have someone that is always there and available to kind of answer the questions that you may not know. So I think that the customer service experience in on itself was really, really good. And I also know, of course, working with the attorney directly, that everything is done very meticulously, that the things are observed with a lot of detail, and that's what you would want to have. And it's something that all attorneys do here very uniformly. So it was really nice to be on the other end, I guess, of the experience where it's more of like the customer take than the actual attorney giving service to others. And I did have the opportunity to already have gone and done my interview process. And they also really were on top of advising me what kind of documents to bring, what kind of questions to expect for the interview. And they were good at following up with me about how the process was going, if there were any additional last minute questions that could come up for me before my interview, which was thankfully very successful. And so I was able to get my visa stamped, and now I'm here officially with my H-1B process already pretty much running. So I think that the immigration process, the law firm was really, really involved, and I I was really happy that that was the way that it was. So of course, I think the waiting is always challenging on a personal level outside of like how I am as an attorney, but just more as a customer. I think it was something that, it's nerve-wracking. But again, the firm was very involved and was very reassuring. So in that sense, it was very helpful to have a kind of like support behind something as big as deciding that you're going to want to continue your professional journey elsewhere outside of your like home country or hometown. So I don't necessarily know on the logistics aspects what could have been the most challenging process or part of the process for my own application, but as the customer, it definitely was the waiting and the preparation for the visa, the interview process. So I know that I had an opportunity to meet with my paralegal, work one-on-one with Maria Camila. That's the person that I work with. So I worked with Maria Camila and she was amazing. And I know that we went through some of the questions that she's known, some clients that have had, and also like the documents that I needed to bring again. And so I think that with the challenges that came into be is just you want to be as sure as you can, but nothing can really guarantee you that you have everything you need for the interview. But they do provide that support. It's more of like, I guess, like you have to calm down your own nerves about the situation and trust that your attorneys have done all the job that they needed to do, that your process and your application is complete, and that things will go smoothly. And for me, it did. So I think that looking back, I would have changed, maybe be a little bit more patient about it. But besides that, it was really good. So one of the biggest things for an H-1B, I think it's to try to differentiate between how you are more beneficial for the company than an American worker. Or in the instance, maybe there's like a shortage of a certain type of professionals that you can kind of fill in with that external international workforce, right? So for me, I think the challenges were a little bit less stringent because not everyone has a law degree, especially an American law degree as well. And so in that context, having passed the bar, which in on itself is a very challenging exam, I think was the biggest challenge that I could have found as a beneficiary. But from the employer perspective, I think finding someone competent, not just competent and above, right? Not just someone that has the legal degree, but that can actually get the job done. And I was able to intern with the firm as a student because it has like an extension where you get to have like practical experience when you're here on a student visa. And so I already knew kind of like the nuts and bolts of how the process looks like and how the work looks like. So when I came in and they ended up extending to me the opportunity to work for them under the work visa, I already knew what I needed to do. So I think that was probably something for them that was extremely beneficial for me as an employee, for them as an employer. So an H-1B does not allow you to migrate permanently to a country. It is a visa that is only extended initially for 3 years. You work under the company. It does give you mobility if you ever like want to switch jobs, if you have a better opportunity, whatever the reason may be. Once you do have a work visa, it gives you flexibility to change to other companies. However, it is only extended to those initial 3 years. And then whether that be in the first company you were at or maybe in a different one later on, you can then do an extension of other 3 years. But ultimately, a work visa does not give you residency. So it's not something that is permanently, it's something that you get to have an experience for total length if you have a renewal that's successful, 6 years. And so in that 6 years, you get to have as much practical experience in the field that you're in as you can in this country. And then hopefully you maybe have other options like the permanent, like the perm labor certification to then stay in the country. But as of now, H-1Bs are just that. And like for me, it's also that opportunity to gain experience in the US, practice law, and figure out like common law systems. And the good thing with immigration is that you can do it from anywhere in the US. So it does give me a little bit more mobility in that sense. And I love that about this field. Getting this type of visa, even though it cannot guarantee your stay entirely in the country, it gives you a very strong competitive advantage over other people when you come back to your country or when you move to another country to say that you've had the American experience and that now you get to say that you've worked maybe at a more like global aspect, because that's the beauty of the US is that it has connections everywhere. And so those skills still are transferable and you can just utilize them anywhere you go.